You know, I talk a lot on this channel about single productions that are indicative of larger trends. The video on Nonsense gave me a chance to talk about the broader labor movement in the performing arts, the videos on Ford's Theatre were quietly about the role of a national monument, and the Turuk video was about the existential crisis that comes from watching James Cameron's Avatar. But today, we're narrowing our focus to an almost microscopic level. This entire video is based on 2 measures of music from the opening number of Shrek the Musical, but they're my favorite 2 measures in the entire score, and this video will explain why. To start, let's burn through the relevant history very quickly. Shrek the Musical is a Broadway show that opened in New York in 2008, ran just a bit over a year, then closed in 2010. Then, licensing company Music Theatre International acquired the amateur stage rights to Shrek, and in 2013, the first regional productions were being staged. With a big cast, solid score, and recognizable cinematic IP, Shrek took off quickly, and was among the top 10 most produced musicals for high school theater departments in the school years ending in 2015, 2017, and 2018. That's all the history we need. Now, before I get to the 2 bars of music in question, I have to back up just a little bit and play a short clip from the Broadway production, which was professionally filmed and released on Netflix, coincidentally just as performance rights for high schools became available. The scene in question is at the very beginning. In most productions, it happens about 90 seconds into the show. In the song Big Bright Beautiful World, the 7-year-old Shrek is being told by his parents that he needs to go off on his own, and on Broadway, his parents sang this.
Your mama packed a sandwich for your trip.
Your papa packed your boots in case of snow.
A relatively innocuous little moment, nothing particularly noteworthy there. Yet. Flash forward to the spring of 2013, and in preparation for Shrek's regional launch by MTI, co-writers Janine Tesori and David Lindsay-Abaire continued to make edits and rewrites, even after the national tour had concluded. In fact, the pair worked with the first regional productions of the show to finalize the revised libretto that all subsequent productions would use. A February 2013 run at Bradford High School in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and an April 2013 run at Pioneer High School in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Now, technically there was also a version of the show tested out in October 2012 at the Coterie Theater in Kansas City, Missouri, although from what I can tell, this abbreviated version of the show later became the blueprint for Shrek Jr., and for reasons I'll get into later, we're only interested in the full 2-act version of Shrek at this time. So, for our purposes, we can consider the Pioneer High School production of Shrek in 2013 to be the second ever production with David Lindsay-Abaire's revised lyrics, and, luckily, footage of that production is online.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know.
For those playing along at home, here are the differences in the lyrics between the Broadway and MTI versions of Big Bright Beautiful World. But remember, we're not just talking about lyrics, this video is about orchestrations. So now, listen to the 2 versions back to back and tell me what's different.
Your mama packed a sandwich for your trip.
Your papa packed your boots in case of snow.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know.
Can you tell what's missing? Of course you can, it's in the title of this video. The original version uses 8 counts of sleigh bells to underscore the mother singing about snow, but in the licensed version, with the reference to snow missing from the lyrics, the orchestration, in turn, removes the sleigh bells. It only makes sense. Which is what makes this video from a 2014 production so confusing.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know.
Now, how did that production end up including the sleigh bells that the Pioneer production didn't have? Well, probably for the same reason that all these productions did.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know. These are little things you need to know. These are little things you need to know.
These are little things you need to know.
These are little things you need to know.
Yeah, it turns out that even though the Pioneer High School staging of Shrek didn't include sleigh bells, one place they are included is in the official score for the show. They were never taken out. All that stuff I said before about them being removed along with the mom's old lyric, That was all a lie. When Shrek was licensed, they changed the words, but kept the sleigh bells. They left in an orchestration that only exists as a reference to a lyric no longer in the show.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
Also, when I mentioned earlier that Shrek Jr. wasn't relevant to this conversation, that's because while Shrek Jr. includes the sleigh bells, it also includes the original lyrics.
Mama packed a sandwich for your trip. Your papa packed your boots in case of snow.
The line is sung by the whole ensemble and not just the mom, but still, the sleigh bells make sense in the context of Shrek Jr. It's only the full version of the show that has this weird error. For those wondering, then, why the Pioneer High School version of Shrek didn't include sleigh bells, well, I don't have an answer, but I do have a theory. In my research for this video, I did find a handful of productions that featured the same combination. New lyrics, but no sleigh bells.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know.
Take some words of wisdom for your trip.
These are little things you need to know.
My theory for this is that the score for these productions did have the sleigh bells notated, but it ended up getting skipped for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't have the instrument or they didn't have a percussionist to play it. I actually found one production where, in a great example of human error, the sleigh bells are heard but in the wrong measure.
For your trip. These are little things you need to know. When you are grotesque, life is complex.
All of this is to remind us that every production of Shrek the Musical is unique. Some high schools may make unlicensed adjustments to the score, which are small enough that they go unnoticed by all but the most in-the-know listeners. Which is to say, me. This is also not intended as a call-out video to any of the high schools whose footage I've pulled here. You're all great, keep doing what you do. The message of this video, then, is simply the fact that in your average high school production of Shrek the Musical, if they're playing the score exactly as it's written, you'll hear 8 counts of sleigh bells that only exist as a reference to a lyric that you're not hearing, because it doesn't exist anymore. And to be clear, for any high school music director or MTI official who may be watching this video, please don't take the sleigh bells out. I love the sleigh bells so much. I love that this singular orchestration detail points to this unique moment in the show's development, an unintended consequence, a reference to the post-Broadway pre-licensing rewrites done by Tesori and Lindsay Abaire. That's why these two measures are my favorite part of the Shrek the Musical score. In a show that has been fully inked and painted, it is the pencil draft sketch showing through. So, if you're a high school percussionist and you find yourself in the pit for Shrek holding some sleigh bells, play them loud and proud, because there's one member of the audience that cares, and it's me. So, this is a much shorter video than I typically make. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you may notice that my last proper video was back in September, and anticipate that I'm working on some massive new project akin to the 3-month gestation of the Nonsense video. No. As it turns out, I actually got selected for a playwriting residency back in August, and I've been spending the fall working almost exclusively on that, so the channel's been on something of a back burner. I was hoping to get a video about the opera La Fille de Regiment done before the holidays, but with the limited time frame, plus some stuff in my personal life that got in the way, that video is getting pushed to January. Meanwhile, I hope you've enjoyed this quick little video, and before you stop watching, I do have one other small thing to mention. I got nominated for the Chicago Reader's Best of 2023 Awards. I did not expect that. I only asked people to vote for me one day before the nominations closed, and I still got in. Then again, I suppose the category of Best Original Digital Content, parentheses, Theater, is a fairly narrow one. Still, congratulations to my fellow nominees, and if you'd like to support this channel and help pull off a truly upset win, seriously, every other nominee is like a company and I'm just me, you can vote for And Now They Sing at the link in the video description. Voting is open until January 14th, and you do not need to live in Chicago to vote. Thanks again for watching this short breakdown on Shrek, and I'll see you in 2024 with a full-length video.